Good Erev Shabbos. Many people erroneously believe that Rabbi Akiva made up the three words v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, love thy neighbor as thyself. It's a pasuk in our Parshat Shvu and Parshat Acharei Kedoshim and Perak Yotet. The three words appear v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. Rashi, however, tells us based on the Medrash halacha, Rabbi Akiva zeklal gadol b'Torah. Rabbi Akiva would say this is a great principle of the Torah. This is a mitzvah min ha-Torah, not just an epigram that Rabbi Akiva liked to say or teach or represent. This is how the Sefer HaChinuch codifies it. Mitzvah ahavat Yisrael, mitzvah 243. Le'ehov kol echad Yisrael ahavat nefesh, to love every Jew with the love of one's soul. The Rambam will take the mitzvah of v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha and say that it is essentially the overarching rubric under which all of the different mitzvot of Bikur Cholim, Chasad Kal, Vayat HaMeit, all different mitzvot Ben Adam LaChavera that we call typically Gemilut Chasadim, they're all expressions of v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. And to know that this mitzvah is a codified mitzvah in the Torah also seems to fly in the face of the time period that we are in right now. Between Pesach and Shavuot, everybody knows why we are essentially in a period of mourning, barring the three happy days in the middle of Yom Ha'atzmaut, Lag BaOmer, Yom Chirut Yerushalayim. The other days are pretty much sad days. Why? It says the Gemara Masechet Yevamot, Daf Samach Bet, Tana. We learned Kulam Meitu MiPesach V'Atzeret because the students of Rabbi Akiva, 24,000 students, called 12,000 pairs of students, died in this period, these weeks. Rabbi Chama bar Abba v'itima Rabbi Chia bar Avin, Kulam Meitu Mita Ra'ah. They all died a bad death, a terrible death. Mayihi, the Gemara asks, what's that terrible death? Amar of Nachman, Askara. They died of a virus. An epidemic swept through the 24,000 students of Rabbi Akiva, and they died within a few weeks' time. You think it was a meteor that came down from heaven and incinerated them? You think they all had a health crisis in the same minute? The Gemara says a pandemic came, or an epidemic rather, and they died of it. Oscar, according to some commentators, is diphtheria, whatever it is. That's how they died. Something between them started to spread like wildfire, and it was unstoppable until it was too late. The Gemara describes a little bit earlier in the Gemara how it happened that these students died of this plague. We don't live at a time with prophets. We don't live at a time with divine inspiration, with Ruach HaKodesh. We don't know why we are experiencing such a plague, a virus, a pandemic that has not only local, but national and global implications. We don't know. But they did know. The Gemara explains why it happened. Shneim Aser Elef Zugim, Talmidim Hayul Rabbi Akiva, Mikvat Vad Antipatris. Rabbi Akiva had 12,000 pairs of students in this area, from Gvat to Antipatris, an area in Judea. V'kulan meitu b'perek echad, they all died in one period of time. Mipnei shelo nagu kavod zeh lazeh. They did not treat each other with kavod, with respect, with honor. Gemara says that's why V'haya olam shamem. The world was left desolate as a result. I never figured out, I still don't know, when did Rabbi Akiva walk around saying, V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha zeh klal gadol b'Torah? Did he say it after the students died, that he realized we're so busy with all of our learning and all of our ruchnis, our Judaism, and our socializing as a community, we forgot you have to love other Jews like yourself? Or was it before they died? But there just wasn't a receptive ear to what he was trying to say. You know, the mitzvah v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha is very easy on days when we can figuratively or recently, literally, wave the flag. We love every Jew in our heart. We love Ahavat Yisrael and Achin Kopet Yisrael, except when the Jews don't look like us. Then we start figuring out, well, it's them and it's us and I don't know. And or in a situation where, God forbid, other Jews make choices that are irresponsible and terrible and that have consequences. The Gemara describes Masechet Sanhedrin, such a Jew. A Jew who has been convicted of a capital crime and is being led out to the gallows or to the Beit HaSkila, the place where they're going to be stoned to death. So the Gemara describes this person, and you can just imagine that as they're going, everyone's looking at that individual. That person's condemned to death. A court found them guilty. They're not even worthy of being alive anymore. Your empathy just kind of ends. Is how much can you relate to a person that's being executed for a terrible crime? But the Gemara says that the way in which the person is put to death has to be in such a way that they don't suffer as they're being killed. In the Gemara's parlance, bror lo mita yafe. Choose for that person a good death. Shenamar v'ahavta l'recha kamocha. Love thy neighbor as thyself. A good death. Here's a bad death. Mita ra'a. Now, not just because dying by this virus is terrible, but also perhaps because what was bad about it is that to the end, they couldn't reconcile. The students could just see themselves, as some of the commentators explain it, 12,000 pairs. Everybody looked across the table in the Beit Midrash and saw their buddy. But everybody else could care less what happens to them. And if they do something, it doesn't impact me. I'm not responsible to them, I'm not accountable to them. And frankly, I don't care if they live or die. And we are living at a time now where it is so challenging to accomplish this mitzvah, because we have to remind ourselves not just shlanagu kavod zelazeh, have kavod for each other, but it should chas v'shalom be a situation shaliyanhigu koved zelazeh, that one shouldn't lead another to COVID. And when Jews let us down, when we feel they've acted in a manner that is conduct unbecoming, irresponsible, endangering, it leaves us with a great sense of disappointment, consternation, sometimes even anger. We need to address that as part of our cheshbon nefesh as well. And somehow, without letting people off the hook of responsibility and accountability, nonetheless not to engage in activity that violates v'ahavta l'recha kamocha. Here are some of the mitzvot that appear as a constellation of mitzvot in Parshat Kedoshim, right next to v'ahavta l'recha kamocha. Lo telech rachil ba'amecha. There shouldn't be a talebearer in your nation. That's the prohibition against slandering other people. Certainly, slandering other people in public. Rashi describes a person who's going house to house. Well, nothing goes faster house to house like a WhatsApp group or a Facebook page or Twitter. And people who write things digitally should recognize that whatever it is that they say, whatever it is that they write, they stand or sit before hundreds, potentially thousands or millions of people. To wit, their words can go viral. Last week, that was Parshat Mitzorah, which Chazal understand one of the causes of tzarat is Lashon Hara. Because like tzarat, Lashon Hara can go viral, and suddenly it can spread and be magnified and cause grave damage. Lo tamid dam re'echa, don't stand idly by while your brother's blood is being shed. Not to permit situations of danger to run out of hand, but if we can do something to forestall that danger, we must do it. It's a mitzvah deoraita. Lo tisnad achicha bilvavecha, do not hate your brother in your heart. If you harbor feelings of animosity, then one must rid oneself of those feelings. And then a mitzvah that the Gemara already says is essentially been neutralized. Hocheach tochich et amitecha. Rebuke your fellow if they're not doing right. The Gemara says already, every time a person would try to rebuke another person, they would say to them, oh yeah, go look in the mirror, essentially. Tol korah mi beinenecha, take the beam. You think I have a toothpick between my eyes? You have a beam between your eyes. That was the expression of the Gemara. They would say, go look in the mirror yourself. So that mitzvah has largely been neutralized. Who can properly give tochacha bisman hazeh? V'lo lav chet, according to the Sefer Chinuch, refers based on Chazal that the person should not embarrass or shame another person, certainly not in public. Lo tikon v'lo titor b'nei hamachad, not to be vengeful, not to bear a grudge for members of the nation. V'ahavta l'recha kamocha ani Hashem. Love thy neighbor as thyself, for I am Hashem. You know, it's interesting that Rabbi Akiva didn't just come up with the idea. He should say, v'ahavta l'recha kamocha, zeh kol gadol b'Torah, mipnei shelo nagu kavod zelazeh. What a tragedy. Rabbi Akiva had a Rebbe. Among his Rebbeim was Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkanus. In the second parak of Pirkei Avot, what is the epigram, the teaching of Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkanus? Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Yehi chavod chavercha alecha kishalach. May the honor of your friend be for you like your own honor. Another way of saying, perhaps, v'ahavta l'recha kamocha. So Rabbi Akiva perhaps reduced it by taking the words from the Torah itself. V'ahavta l'recha kamocha. Not about honor, but about love. It didn't work. Rabbi Elazar ben Shemua is one of his students. Rabbi Elazar ben Shemua, the Gemara describes here on page 62b in Yevamot, that Rabbi Akiva found 5 other students, rabbis who lived in the south, and he taught the Torah to them. Among those are Elazar ben Shemua. In the 4th parak of Pirkei Avot, Rabbi Elazar ben Shemua Omer, Yehi chevod talmidcha chaviv alecha kishalach. May the honor of your student be precious to you as your own. Uchevod chavercha, and the honor of your fellow, not equal to yours, but rather kimora rabach, like the reverence you have for your teacher. Umora rabach, the reverence you have for your teacher, kimora shamayim, like the reverence that you have for heaven. When we appreciate this, we understand that sandwiched in between the issues of kavod and kavod, Rabbi Akiva had a different formulation, but it's the same thought, just in other parlance. It is so hard, and yet so important, that every Jew do a cheshbon nefesh on this mitzvah. When, if not now, during the period ben Pesach la'atzeret, the time period when we are not allowed to make weddings. Do you know why? Because of a plague, because of an epidemic. Yehi ratzon that this period of time should be our period of time to internalize the legacy of Rabbi Akiva. Not as a Rebbe who was extremely heroic, though he was, in making sure that even though the 24,000 students died, he went back again and he started fresh. That too is an important lesson. But that Rabbi Akiva wanted his epitaph, or rather his living epigram, to be pointing at the words of the Torah in Parshat Kedoshim, v'ahavta l'recha kamocha, Amar Rabbi Akiva, zeklal gadol b'Torah. This is a great principle of the Torah. As hard as it might be sometimes, this is our mitzvah. And I believe no time like this time, when we see that there are people who sadly are not just abstract numbers in statistics, but they're people who are known to our community and known to us, in some cases our own relatives, who have left the world because of this terrible virus. Let's not allow it to be also a mita ra'ah. Let's make sure it's a mita yafa. And more, let's make sure we don't even get to mita. Let's make sure we're protecting ourselves and we're being responsible as Jews. But part of that is also considering for ourselves what toll it could take on us in terms of our v'ahavta l'recha kamocha, and what Rabbi Akiva is asking us to do, to celebrate as that klal gadol b'Torah, a great principle of the Torah. May these days of darkness soon be days again of great light. May they be days not of many, many funerals, but of many, many weddings. And may Klal Yisrael soon be zochim to the binyan of the Beit HaMikdash, that building of Yerushalayim, where all Jews will gather and all Jews and all people will unite in the service of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Wishing everyone a Shabbat Shalom.